All right, what is up? It is the morning after an historic night that we'll be talking about for a long, long time. The morning after, and I don't know about the rest of you, I didn't get much sleep last night. And that's fine with it. I'm okay. Not cranky or anything this morning for sure, because I woke up today and it's like, hey, they won the national championship. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night because of all the adrenaline after that win last night. Just fantastic, just great. Still so much to talk about from that game. And really, I think kind of now, like the morning after, it's more of a reflection on kind of, the entire journey for these seniors, these fourth year seniors throughout their career, through this season. Heard of a lot of interesting things during the press conference. And if you caught the live stream last night immediately after the game, one, thank you. Whether you're watching it live on demand, whether you just watched or you commented, whatever you did, it's really appreciated that you jumped in. But went back and listened to the press conference earlier this morning, and one thing I asked last night is, okay, guys, like this is four consecutive now. And normally, when you have a run like this, normally like the first championship is the most sentimental for a fan, right? It's like the first time that you do it. And then as you kind of go on, you still really appreciate it. But human nature is to get a little bit spoiled by it. And have OU softball fans been spoiled here recently? I mean, I think that that's probably fair to say, given the reaction of how we respond if they dare drop a game at any point. But really, the question was, does this national championship, the fourth one, last one out for the seniors, what does this one feel like compared to the previous three? And I made the point that it probably feels the best out of any of the four, just because of the doubts that was along the way this year. Who you beat in the championship series, you couldn't lose to Mike White. I mean, imagine sitting here on this Friday morning if you would have lost to Mike White this series. I don't even want to think about it because it would have been that awful. But just you beat Texas again. It's the biggest and best softball rivalry going on. You beat Mike White, who you can't stand. All the doubt that was in their way. You wanted to send the senior class on top. I mean, just so many reasons why I think this national championship may separate it from the rest. And I say separate. I mean, all four have been incredible. All four were incredible and have their special, unique moments. But I think even last night really adds to why this one to me feels a little bit more special because we had a comment last night from Jessica Bame and the word grits was used last night to describe this team. And I think it's the perfect word to use. They used five pitchers last night, guys. I mean, that was a very, very bold pitching strategy that Patty Gasso and Jen Rocha went with last night. And if it didn't work out, there would have been a lot of criticism today. A lot of criticism today. Okay, well, yeah, she's the GOAT and she probably deserves the benefit of the doubt, but what was she thinking? Starting Carly Keeney and she hadn't started in over a month. What was she thinking going from Carly Keeney to Peyton Monticelli? What was she thinking trying to throw five pitchers tonight? There would have been a lot of doubt. There would have been a lot of people saying, what is she doing here? Should have thrown Kelly Maxwell. Should have thrown Nicole May. You guys know how it works. But instead, it worked out. It worked out beautifully. And Patty looks like a genius today. Jen Rocha looks like a genius today. But it was the grits of that team that made it happen last night. I mean, a lot of firsts happened last night. First time the championship series, five pitchers. First time the four-peat, right? I mean, there's a lot of firsts last night. But I say all that to say, after listening to the press conference earlier this morning, you can just kind of tell that, and no one said, yeah, this one feels the best out of the previous three. And it was all seniors that was at the podium last night. No one came out and said this feels the best out of the four. But you could tell that just the doubts and the outside noise really crept into this locker room, maybe more than it has previously. Now, you might say, okay, well, if they had such an issue with all the doubt and the everything that people were saying about it and the criticism, well, why do they listen to it? Why don't you just turn your phone off? Why don't you just not watch or listen to anything? And that's fine in theory, but it's also 2024. I mean, you can really try and avoid the distractions and try and avoid listening and hearing the things that are said about you, but that's much easier said than done. It's 2024. Everyone's got a phone now. I mean, it's so easy to get information. It's so easy to get opinions, good ones, crap ones by other people that are out there. It's really kind of impossible these days, especially with kids, to kind of ignore everything that's being said about your team. So they heard everything. They saw most of it. And I think they used that in a lot of ways to fuel them to the run that they finished last night for a national championship. So I'm just still amazed. And last night, man, you talk about this senior class going out on top. Yeah, of course they won the national championship. But how many players, and forget about just this tournament, which we'll get to in a minute, but how many players really just contributed just last night? Just last night in the game clinching win against Texas. I mean, Carly Keeney factored in. She hadn't very much recently. Peyton Monticelli got one of the biggest outs of the game. Kirsten Deal gave you some outs. Nicole May was fantastic, which I love to see. Kelly Maxwell, right, was sensational once again. That's why she's most outstanding player. But even look at the lineup. Of course, Jada was great. Of course, TRA was awesome. Ella Parker, too. Like, you can go up and down the lineup to Avery Hodge, to Riley Boone, to everyone. That was a complete team win last night. And to be honest, you didn't start your ace last night. You didn't start your second best pitcher. You didn't start your third best pitcher. I mean, think about that. How many times, like, clearly it's never happened before where someone's thrown 5 pitchers in a championship series. But how many times has someone in a spot to clinch the championship series have they started their number 4 pitcher? And I'm guessing that that's what Carly Keeney is, the number 4 pitcher. That's probably what I would have projected her as coming into this thing. But how many times have you seen that a team starts their number 4 arm in a game like this? Maybe that's never happened. It was going to take a total team effort last night to win that game, and that's exactly what happened. It was a total team effort. Show me someone that got in the game last night, and I'll show you someone that had at least one moment where they contributed to that win. And that's awesome. That's great, especially for a sport that for so long, and even still today, that this can be the case, can be dominated by just someone that's awesome in the circle and throwing a complete game shutout, and all you need is one run across the board. That was a total team effort, total team win last night. Everyone contributed, and it was just the perfect way to go out on top. I mean, it really was. I don't know yesterday the scenario that I could have said that would have fit better than that. Probably would have said something like Nicole May starts, gets the win. Kelly Maxwell gets the save. Jada Coleman robs a home run in the bottom of the 7th inning to win the championship. And that would have been really cool too. But the fact that just everyone, whether you're a 4th-year senior or you are a true freshman, everyone competed in a big way last night and contributed in a big way. And that was really cool. But how you guys feel this morning? Drop it in the comments. I'm guessing that you feel awesome. I hope that you feel awesome. I really hope that you didn't wake up on a Friday, the morning after you just won the 4-peat, another national championship, and you're not feeling great about things, not feeling great about life. I mean, come on. If you can't feel good today, I mean, what's going on? So what'd you guys think was the biggest play of the game? What'd you guys think was the biggest moment in general? Drop those in the comments, and we'll get to several of those before I get out of here today. I think Ella Parker's 3-run double, to me, was the biggest play of the night and one of the 5 biggest moments of the Women's College World Series for this team. And I'm kind of racking my brain here, and I'm going to come out with the video probably tomorrow, maybe on Sundays, at some point over the weekend, and I'm going to list 1 through 5, the 5 biggest plays that OU had throughout the Women's College World Series. And I felt good about the 4 that I had going into last night. But I think that Ella Parker double could be somewhere pretty high on the list because you were trailing 3-2 at that point. Texas had all the momentum, and then she hammered that ball right to the gap. Bases loaded, clear. You knew Riley Boone was going to score from first base. That was no question. So as soon as that ball got down in the gap, I'm like, yeah, that scores 3. That's easy. Sure enough, 3-run double. You take the 5-3 lead, and you never gave the lead back after that. Never gave the lead back after that. And Mark, I was just about to mention this, and I'm heavily considering putting this play in the 5 biggest plays of the Women's College World Series as well. The Texas blunder in the 6th at first after cutting the lead to 1. No, I mean, if I'm wrong about Ella Parker's Be her double being the biggest play last night, the 3-run RBI. If I'm wrong about that, I think the only other right answer could be the play that you're mentioning in the top of the 6th inning, because I mention it all the time: momentum, momentum, momentum. Momentum in football, momentum in basketball, momentum in softball. I mean, I just think momentum in sports is a very, very real thing. It's a real thing, and I've seen it time and time again in my entire life. And especially when you have two bitter rivals going at it, I think momentum can be even a bigger deal than maybe just a regular game that you can't come across throughout the season. So Texas had the momentum in that moment. And maybe at that point they had the most momentum. Did I say Ella Parker? I meant Sid Sanders. Sorry about that. Thanks, Mark, for the correction there. Sanders 3-run double. I got it in my notes there. I don't know why I said Ella Parker. Probably because she's just been so fantastic throughout this Women's College World Series that, we'll be talking a lot about Ella Parker here moving forward. But Texas had the momentum in the top of the 6th inning, and maybe more momentum than they've had the entire game. Like, here they come. Sid Sanders has the big double, clears the bases. It's now 5-3. But here comes Texas roaring back, right? Avery Hodge bobbles that ball, doesn't make the play. Her second error of the night after this incredible start on that slow roller. Everyone's safe. It's now 5-4. Oh, boy. And I think Texas would have runners at the corners in that spot, right? Texas would have runners at the corners in that spot, first and third. And then, boy, here comes Texas. Here's their opportunity to tie the game or maybe even take the lead. And I believe Nicole May was in at that time. And then it's one of the biggest base running blunders of the entire season for Texas. And as much as it was a base running blunder, and it was, and I don't want to hammer Mia Scott too much. I mean, she's a kid. She's excited. I don't know what she was trying to do. Maybe she was trying to make some sort of a play. But as much of a base running blunder as it was, a heck of a heads-up play by Avery Hodge to make that, And not just Avery Hodge, because Kelly Maxwell was asked about it in the post-game press conference last night, and they asked her about that play, and she was just like, yeah, I just told Avery Hodge, like, hey, look, she's off first base, look. So to kind of do the no-look pass and the level of execution that took to make that happen, she kind of pointed at Avery like, hey. And to get that, I mean, I just talked about the total team effort to win that game last night. Like, that was kind of a team effort to make that play happen last night, right? Because she was way off of first base. And maybe most teams don't even recognize that. Maybe some teams, guys, attempt that, and they throw it in the right field. The run scores, it's tied, and Mia Scott could be standing at second or third base. I mean, just all of that, was just such a massive momentum-changing moment in the game. Texas had a huge amount of momentum, but OU steals it right back, and I mean right back. So it's one thing to have the momentum, but it's one thing to have the momentum, and immediately it's taken away from you. That was a huge moment. That was a huge, huge moment in that game. And not only was it a big moment, but all of a sudden now you look up and say the Texas threat is done, and you're 3 outs away from winning a national championship. So great point, Mark. Yeah, that was a massive play. And the more that I think about it, Mark, I think you convinced me. I think that might be in my top 5 as well. And just for a little bit of a spoiler, like the plays that I'm thinking about, you guys can drop some other big moments in here for the Women's College World Series. And I'm going to order them from 1 to 5. Jada's walk-off, of course, against Florida. How's that not in there? Tiare's home run on her birthday in game 1 of the championship series. That's probably going to be the top 5 for me, just because it felt like that really kind of got the offensive mojo going for this team in game 1. First inning, 2-run home run. The offense never looked back after that. 8 runs on consecutive nights. The offense was awesome. And it felt like that Tiare Jennings home run game 1 of the championship series against Texas was like, okay, here we go. You had all the momentum going into today, and you got a ton of momentum after that bomb by Tiare. Maxwell versus UCLA, there's not one single play or maybe one single strikeout, just kind of the moment itself. And then the back-to-back home runs, Kinsey Hansen and Cassidy Pickering in game 1 as well. But I'll sit down tonight, tomorrow morning, and really think about the biggest plays of this tournament. But and that's what's cool, guys, is let's think about like just the handful of plays that I've mentioned here. All right. And Mark's got another one. Sydney hitting a 2-run home run to cut the Florida lead to 1 in game 2. And I think that this is a story overall that maybe I haven't touched on enough. I mean, we're just a few hours away from winning a championship. But I mentioned Jada hitting a walk-off, Tiare hitting a home run on her birthday, Kinsey Hansen and Cassidy Pickering. There's a Sid Sanders in there, Avery Hodge making that play. The point is that throughout this entire tournament, it wasn't just the fourth-year seniors. And the fourth-year seniors made their fair share of plays. There's no doubt about it. But it was freshmen. It was 2-year players. It was fourth-year seniors. It was Kinsey Hansen, who had been here for 5 years. Riley Boone, who has been here for 5 years. I mean, it was young, rookies, veterans, everything in between. Everyone contributed throughout this run. And look, we've been asking a lot this year. When's OU going to play its best softball? When's it going to happen? Why are they losing to Texas? How do they lose like that to BYU? That looked awful. How are they losing a series to Oklahoma State? All the questions throughout the regular season, but they got it right when they had to. And they got right at the right time, and it was the entire lineup, man. Entire lineup, entire pitching staff, total team effort, not only last night, but throughout the tournament as well. And some players really, really emerged. They really emerged. You guys not excited about Avery Hodge here moving forward? I am. You're not excited about Cassidy Pickering here moving forward? I am. Sid Sanders, so many of these players that will be returning next year. It's awesome. And by the way, congrats to all those that made the all-tournament team. For OU, you had Kinsey Hansen, Tiare Jennings, Kelly Maxwell, most outstanding player, Ella Parker, and Cassidy Pickering. And just right there, guys, like, look, I mean, you had 2 freshmen that made all-tournament team, and then 3 seniors that made all-tournament team. I know you're losing a lot of talent, but the future's still bright, guys. The future is still bright. What up, Kendrick? I think it's really good that Parker and Pickering were able to be in the starting lineup with these seniors as we go forward and reload, as they'll be a big part of the nucleus in reloading. Yeah, agree. I mean, the overall thing from this is that you won the national championship. You won your 4th consecutive national championship. So that's what you take away from this tournament more than anything else is job done. You did it. You did something that no team has ever done before, and I don't think any team will ever do again, unless it's Oklahoma. I said that last night. I'll say it again. But now, as you kind of really go back and look at what happened, it's, well, I mean, Cassidy Pickering was having a really good year, but she went to another level in this tournament. Oh, Ella Parker had a really good year, but she went to a different level in this tournament. Avery Hodge did some nice things. She was far from an everyday player, but, okay, like, she did some really nice things. I'm excited about her moving forward. And I could probably list some other players as well, but those players now know, Kendrick, and that's a really good point. But these freshmen are going to move forward here. These second-year players are going to move forward here, knowing that that's the type of play that they have inside them. On the biggest stage against the best teams, they can be the best player at their position throughout an entire tournament. The level of confidence that can give a young player, and it looks like they were operating with a ton of confidence to begin with, but the level of confidence that can give a young player moving forward, I mean, how do you even describe what that means? I mean, yeah, you've got some recognizable faces now after losing 10 of them. Ella Parker and Cassidy Pickering are going to be hitting the middle of your order next year and going to be looked at as 2 of your best players. And I've already predicted many times Cassidy Pickering is going to be an All-American, and it ain't going to take until her senior year. Heck, maybe next year. We're talking about Cassidy Pickering, maybe even Ella Parker being All-Americans. Mark does point out, good point, 3, 4, 5 coming up if not for that blunder. I'm going to write that down as well, Mark. You just really convincing me on that play. I knew it was a big deal, but the more information you have provided, the more I'm like, yeah, Mark's right. That probably needs to be in the top 5. Chief says, Tyler, I'm tired of people saying move the series out of OKC. Does it make a difference where our girls play? When postseason arrives, our girls shift into another level. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a lazy take right now. It's one of 2 things that why people are saying it. One is just a lazy take. I mean, they've just been following the sport for about 3 days now, and they have no idea what they're talking about. And it's funny that when people bring this up, no one offers a solution. Just move it out of OKC. Okay, where do you want to move it? You want to move it away from the facility that's the nicest, the best, and has the most seats? You want to move it somewhere that has 1,000 seats? So you're robbing the kids of the best atmosphere possible. You're robbing the fans of the opportunity to see this game in person, right? Because if you tickets are already expensive enough at Hall of Fame Stadium, you move it to somewhere else where there's a lot less seats, tickets are going to be even more difficult to come by. That stadium is set up for all the TV cameras, all the different angles that you see. These other parks are not. It's just stupid more than anything. Or people throw it out because they know they're going to get reactions. But here's so I at this point it annoys me too, Chief. It really does. At this point, I've just learned to say whatever, it's stupid, and try and move on as much as possible. But here's what makes me mad about it: the notion that, well, yeah, okay, OU won 4 titles, but only because they get to play in Oklahoma City every year. I mean, that really annoys me. That makes me mad. And those are coming from people that don't know what they're talking about. So I probably shouldn't care about that to begin with. You play this thing in California, you play it in Georgia, you play it on the moon. OU still four-peats because they're the best program. So for the people that insinuate, yeah, okay, four-peat, but they get to play in Oklahoma City, that's stupid. It's dumb. And yes, it's a factor. Of course it's a factor. Of course, and it's an advantage for OU. But Oklahoma City, they put in the money when nobody else wanted to. Nemo says, I know it's super early, but could please do a podcast for the incoming freshmen and possible transfers? Yeah, I'm going to do that at some point. We're going to have a fun offseason kind of looking ahead because there's some really fun names and a player by the last name of Malloy that you should really, really be excited about. So, yeah, we'll definitely do that in the future. Going to mix up a lot of college football content on this as well. I know a lot of you are OU football fans. We got a massive move coming to the SEC on July 1st. So still softball content on this page in the offseason, but definitely some football as well. So like and subscribe if you haven't already, please. When Texas watch OU come back on Florida in game 2, their hearts sank. Big believer in that, Mark. Big believer in that. And they'll probably deny that. And they'll probably said going into that game like, we want OU to win. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And we want to beat the best if we're going to be national champions. I mean, we'll take on Florida, whatever, but we really want Oklahoma. No, they didn't. They didn't want Oklahoma. Mike White, what he said before the tournament even started, I mean, he knew it was going to happen, right? And that's why I thought it was such a dumb thing to say is that the rest of the team saw those comments. I don't know why you would do that. Texas was hoping that Florida would win that game, and they play the Gators in the championship series, and maybe Texas wins the national championship if they play Florida instead. But they didn't. They played Oklahoma. Now, Florida had this massive lead, and inside, and this is kind of what you're saying, Mark, about their hearts saying, inside when Florida had that big lead early, they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to play Florida. Oh, we're going to get to play Florida. Like Texas was inside, they were rooting for Florida, but they didn't think Florida was going to beat Oklahoma twice. So when Florida won the first one, then Florida got out to the big lead in the second one, their hopes got up. Their hopes got sky high, and they got crushed. They got crushed once Oklahoma came back and won that game. And, at the time, it didn't feel like there were a whole lot of advantages for OU having to play that extra day. Texas is a better staff anyway. They're a deeper staff. They're going to get that day of rest. You're not going to get that day of rest. It felt like at the time the only positive about having to play that extra day and not having the day off is the momentum that could come along with it. And OU got a ton of momentum. OU got a ton of momentum from that Florida game. I definitely think mentally Texas was like, God, we got to play them again. We got to play these guys again, the championship series. It was massive for momentum. And even the take that I just mentioned that, well, it's an advantage for Texas. They get the day off. Their staff will be fully rested. They got the deeper pitching staff. That may have felt right at the time, but does that look right now? Who do you guys think had the better pitching staff in this tournament or in this championship series? Didn't look all that close to me. I mean, OU had the most outstanding player in the circle. No rest or not, at some point you operate on adrenaline, and OU's pitching staff was a lot better than Texas was throughout this series. OU scored 8 runs on back-to-back days. He is doing a disservice to his team. It's in his team's head. I mean, it is. And look, Texas won the regular season series in Austin. Texas played really well. Man, Texas played well in Austin. But what happened when they played in Oklahoma City? And that's why I said even going back into the tournament, like, hey, if OU ends up playing Texas, if we're really on a collision course for a national championship series, I'll feel good about that, man. Like, I respect Texas. Texas is a good team, but they don't want any part of OU in Oklahoma City. And I know that nobody does, but there's a mental edge that OU has over Texas, especially in that stadium. We've seen it before in previous years. We saw it in a championship series 2 years ago, and we saw it again in the Big 12 tournament championship. Texas had beaten them a few weeks earlier in Austin, but OU really controlled that game in Oklahoma City. And coming out of that one, I said, yeah, Texas is good. They can absolutely get to the championship series. But if they take on OU again, OU's going to control Texas. OU's the better team, guys. And I know that some doubted that. They've got the better roster. They've got the better coach. They've got the better team. But Texas they can't beat OU in Oklahoma City. They can't. Becky says best neutral site, Cancun, Mexico, a place where OU also plays well. Yeah. I like the rebuttal too. Like, okay, you guys want to move it to a different location? Fine. Let's think about another place in the country that is one of the best facilities out there, has a ton of seats, maybe the next closest to Hall of Fame Stadium, can host all the TV cameras that you're looking for. Oh, Love's Field. So to people that want to move this thing, okay, we might be moving it to Love's Field. It could be the next best facility to what we played in over the past week. It was Sid Sanders who hit the 3-run double. Yeah, my bad about that, Haley. I don't. Again, Ella Porker had such a great series, and I had it in my head that she was she was all tournament team. But yeah, I have it written down here. Sid Sanders 3-run double took the 5-3 lead in the bottom of the fourth inning. Bob, OU's defense was significantly better than Texas. Fantastic point. Fantastic point. Yeah, OU's defense was it was good. It was solid. TRA made a really great play in the hole. Was that in the top of the second inning? Yeah, top of the second inning, and it just goes down as like a ground out to short, but like just plays like that. Not even the Jada Coleman robbing a home run ball full extension plays. It's a place like that where TRA, new to shortstop this year, receives some criticism, makes a play in the hole, scoop at first base. It's just like plays like that. Avery Hodge made some great defensive plays. I know that she made some mistakes, but I'm going to count it as a great defensive play when she got Mia Scott leaning there in the top of the sixth inning. So, yeah, OU's defense was good. Texas defense was not good, especially game one. Got a lot of respect for Reese Atwood. Think she's a great player. She'll continue to be a great player. She'll be probably the front runner next year for National Player of the Year, but she really struggled defensively in game one. Texas did have a lot of stolen bases last night. They had like 3. OU overcame that, which is good. John Leach says, yeah, Kiwi coach Mike White still whining about the lopsided OKC demographics in his presser. Gee, sack up, Mary. In the words of Billy Tubbs, just get better. Just get better. Yeah. And Texas is a heck of a softball team right now. But they're number 2. And the one thing they can't do right now is they can't beat Oklahoma when it matters. They can't beat Oklahoma in the championship series. But I don't think that this is the last time ever that we're going to see Patty Gasso and Mike White face off against each other in a championship series. I think that that's going to happen again. Maybe not next year. I don't know if that's going to happen next year. I'm not going to doubt this program. I know that they're losing a lot. But, guys, they lost a lot last year. They lost the most outstanding player a year ago in the World Series. They lost a top 2 pitcher in Jordy Bull. They lost the SEC Player of the Year, the greatest shortstop to ever come through the program, Alex Storako, who was fantastic last year. I could argue that they're losing more this year than what they lost last year, but they lost a ton last year, and they still won the national championship and swept their way through the championship series. So, I mean, there's some rebuilding that's going to have to happen. There's no doubt about that. I don't even know if OU should be the preseason number 1 team next year. We'll get to that when we get to that, but I'm just not going to doubt this program. That's what I've learned. Never, ever, ever doubt this program. And yes, they got to replace a lot, but man, this recruiting class coming in is excellent, and you know that they're going to do damage via the transfer portal. You know they're going to do damage via the transfer portal. And we had some questions the past couple of days. Well, is this it for Patty? There's some message board rumors out there that Patty Gasso is going to retire. I never bought that. She wants to go to the SEC. She wants the challenge. Patty loves a challenge. Have we not been paying attention here over the course of the past several years? Patty was bummed about all the 5-inning run rules. Patty loves a challenge. The SEC will be a challenge. It will be a new and unique challenge for Oklahoma softball. She wants to be a part of that. And she pretty much confirmed last night that she'll be coming back next year. She didn't say, hey, I want to make an announcement here. I will be returning, but I forget the exact quote here, but she said, like, I'm coming back next year. And so that's going to be the case. Mike White was whining in the press conference too, called out the home field advantage. He touched on our older players. Just something about that guy. Easily hateable. Easily hateable, that's for sure. But he has stoked the best rivalry in the sport. The SEC is a great conference, but they're getting the best two programs. They're getting the elite of the elites when it comes to OU. And they're getting the best rivalry in it as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward to the SEC. For anyone who thinks Patty is going to retire, just send them her press conference last night. Yeah, exactly, Becky. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in some ways, you can tell when a coach is close. Like that. That's the thing is, not only is Patty not going to retire, like I didn't listen to that last night and say, ooh, boy, Patty's only got 2 to 3 years left. Now, she admits how hard these seasons are on her and on the team and how difficult it is throughout the regular season with all the expectations and the criticism and everything else that this team has to handle. And I think that we have an idea, and I think we've had an idea of what this team has to go through on a year in, year out basis, but I don't think that we truly know. I don't think that we truly know. I think we know that the expectations are super high, this and that, but I don't think that we truly know the grind and everything that this coaching staff and these players have to go through. But totally, Becky, I didn't listen to that press conference last night and say, well, yeah, she's coming back next year, but next year could be her last year. I kind of took that as like she's good. She's happy. I don't think that she'll be coaching in 10 years, but I don't think that next year's the swan song or anything like that. The last OU had a huge turnover. They won back to back to back. Yeah, totally. Exactly right. Just don't count out this program. You saw what Cassidy Pickering did this tournament. She's only going to be better next year. You saw what Ella Parker did this tournament. She's only going to be better. I mean, and again, this true freshman class, maybe you have kind of the next group coming up that are going to be, a foundational piece of the next 3 to 4 years. The household names that we'll be talking about. It's going to suck to have to replace Jada and Tiare and Riley, but I mean, there's just so much energy and personality with that you got to replace as well, And as these players get older, their personality will show more and more. But having to replace Jada's personality and just what she is as a person, man, that's not easy to do. Same thing with Riley. Same thing with Kinsey Hansen, Tiare. I mean, all these players for sure. How bad did this team want Maxwell to go out on top? I mean, you could tell that she's really a loved figure in that locker room. And they kind of really looked to her here moving forward and said, we got you. We got your back. We're going to give you the offense, but do your thing in the circle. Carry us in the circle to this national championship. And it's really cool for Kelly because, we've mentioned it, maybe not talked about it enough. And I don't think that we truly know the full extent of it, but how hard that was for Kelly to leave Oklahoma State, yes, but to go to Oklahoma of all places. Of course, some things are going to be said. And a lot of things were said. A lot of doubt was thrown her way. I mean, it's not just leaving Oklahoma State to go to OU. It's not just that. And that's a lot in itself. When you have your former coach kind of making some certain comments or your entire fan base doing some certain things, that in itself, that's a lot to carry. But think about the expectations for Kelly Maxwell this year. You lost Jordy Ball via the transfer portal. And the expectation was, well, okay, you got Kelly Maxwell. Kelly Maxwell is your ace. And oh, by the way, she's never won a national championship, but let's not get it twisted here. The expectation is to four-peat and win another national championship. I mean, how much pressure is that? Are you kidding me? You come in immediately with everyone saying that you're a traitor, you're this and that, you're not good enough, you're not Jordy Ball. Oh, by the way, carry this team to a national championship. I don't think that we fully know the extent of the pressure that Kelly Maxwell was facing this year. And she got hot at the right time. She overcame it, the talk with Patty, and made it happen. Incredible. Incredible. Truly incredible. Gabe says the Texas seniors were so butthurt last night that they wouldn't do post-game interviews. So I just watched the OU post-game press conference earlier this morning. I haven't gotten to the Texas side yet, but that is interesting. I need to go back and watch that, I guess. Mike White, the clown, being humbled, priceless. I'm telling you, I think in the OU fan hate list right now, I mean, he's somewhere in the top. definitely in the top five. Definitely in the top five. For OU softball fans, he's number one. But just all sports in general, he's got to be in the top three. I mean, Muleshoe, Lincoln Riley is there. And then it's like Mike White there. For some of you, he may be in front of Muleshoe. I don't know, but it's like Muleshoe, it's Mike White, it's Eli Drinkwitz. He's high up there on the list. Kenny G maybe in there as well. He could be in the top five too, but it's a heated rivalry right now, and it's not going away. Not going away anytime soon. I'm happy today. It's a good morning. It's Friday. I'm in a good mood, but I wish we were playing a softball game tonight. You know, you kind of take for granted showing up here in the morning, doing the live stream with you guys, which thanks for showing up again. I don't know what your plans are this Friday morning, but you're hanging out in here, which I really appreciate it. But you kind of take for granted, like, all right, you got a softball game to look forward to. I was just complaining the previous 2 days, like, it's 9:30. It's going to take forever to get to 7 p.m. I'd be down to do that again. I would love to watch this team play another game tonight. I'm glad they clinched it last night. I'm not sad that they lost or anything like that. I would rather avoid the if necessary game 3 and just sweep Texas. But, man, I really wish that there was a softball game tonight. We had a comment last night on the live stream saying, well, just do an alumni game at Devon Park. I'd be down for that. I show up for that on a Friday night. Alumni game. Shay Knighton's already out there. A lot of former players are already out there. Just get them out there. Let's go. What's Kenny G's reaction to this? He did get a big transfer last night, and it was announced, an hour or so before the game started, but that's got to be tough. That's got to be tough that Kelly Maxwell left the program and most outstanding player. Probably a lot of poke tears today. Mike White, number one villain, followed by the UCLA coach, says David Madrano. CJ says Mike blamed the crowd in the home field again in the post-game presser. Then one of the players answered right after him and said they were just better. Good to hear they get that at least. He don't. He's a bit of a man-child, isn't he? I knew drama or something was going to be said at some point this year, but let it go, man. Like, yes, OU has an advantage here, but these things happen. LSU's played in a national championship many times. You know who beat LSU in a national championship in New Orleans? Nick freaking Saban. He didn't make any excuses about that moving forward. So Mike White will never win another national championship until he can stop making excuses. If you make excuses like that, then you already kind of set the table as to what's going to happen. But nobody tell him that. I don't want him to know this secret. And even if he knew this secret, probably wouldn't take the advice either. Probably too hard-headed. My buddy Sean says, Boomer, Mike Wine sounds like he doesn't really like his players in every one of the post-lost interviews. Going to be a long, long offseason for Mike White. And he's got a lot of really good players returning next year. So they're going to have a pretty good squad. I bet some people picked them number one in the preseason poll. But here's the deal. They better not face OU in Oklahoma City next year. They could have the best team of all time. I bet the narrative going into this offseason is Mike White and Texas will have their best team of all time. But Oklahoma's the monkey they can't get off their back right now. So a team full of sophomores and a lot of freshmen next year, he may have his best team, but they don't want to see OU. Gabe says, do you think there'll be a 30 for 30 about OU softball? Yeah, maybe. Could be for sure. I mean, just the level of stardom that Patty has and a lot of these players, and if some go on and win a gold medal like TRA on the Olympic team, something like that, I think that could happen for sure. Or at least some sort of a documentary, like an SEC network documentary or something that, yeah, for sure. I think that could be the case because OU's been involved in a decent amount of documentaries and a decent amount of 30 for 30s compared to others, right? You had The Best That Never Was, the Marcus Dupree story. You had Brian and the Brian Bosworth story. And I know there's one coming out on the SEC network soon. I don't know the actual launch date, but essentially it's kind of the story of the wishbone and the triple option, how that got started. OU's heavily featured in that more than any other school. Texas has some interviews. Alabama has some interviews. So, yeah, there's another one coming out soon on the SEC network. And the gentleman that produced this is kind of behind it. I know him. He's a friend. And It was the day before the spring game, not this past spring game, but the spring game before, and he kind of invited me over to kind of, see some of the interviews. And I don't know if this is going to make the documentary or not. And maybe I shouldn't say this. I don't know, but it's pretty awesome. Thomas Lott, former OU quarterback, was right in the middle of an interview in the house right when I walked in. And the first thing that I heard from Thomas Lott, who's from San Antonio, from the state of Texas, is this is the first thing I heard when I walked in. Why would anyone pick that color? It's such a god-awful color. It's such an ugly color. Why would anyone pick that gaudy burnt orange? So, the hate was spewing from Thomas about the University of Texas and that god-awful burnt orange. So I hope that makes the documentary, but that'll be cool. But to answer your question, Gabe, I think that there could absolutely be a 30 for 30 about OU softball. Mike White blamed the recruiting, almost insinuating that Oklahoma and Patty cheated. I guess I got to listen to this. Jeez. What's up with Mike White talking about we have 23 and 24-year-olds on the team? Well, there's a lot of teams that do. Ever heard of COVID there, Mike? I mean, that's going on across college football, college basketball. It's going on everywhere. Just, God, take your L and move on, dude. Peyton Gore has the talent to make one heck of a 30 for 30. Yeah, sure. CJ, funny you said that, Tyler. Mike did rip his pitching staff into presser, saying they only throw one pitch each, and Oklahoma throws different kinds. His pitchers are so good. That was terrible on him. I gotta listen. I got a 35-minute drive to the station here after I get out of here. I guess I got to listen to that. And I'm probably going to laugh all the way home and call him a loser to myself in the car a few times. Sean says in his interview, you could tell his weak mentality affected his players. They kept emphasizing home crowd of 12,000, of them only having 1.5 thousand fans. He did not prepare them mentally, and it showed. Yeah. Hey, and he's a good coach, and he does a lot of things well, but he did not prepare them for this moment. Women's College World Series experience. OU has it. Texas does, kind of, compared to other teams. They don't have it when it comes to Oklahoma. I predicted yesterday the score would be 8-5, pretty close. I predicted 5-4, and I thought I was going to be right about that until OU had other plans. And big time in the bottom of the sixth, guys. I think Kelly Maxwell goes out and shuts Texas down in the top of the seventh, and they move on and they win the national championship 5-4. But that was one of the finer moments of the offense this series. Their last curtain call by some of these seniors was maybe the finest moment of this entire tournament. Going out and getting not one insurance run, not two insurance runs. They got three. Bases loaded with one out. Jada got the RBI. Ella Parker got the RBI. I'm actually right on that one. Ella Parker did get that RBI to push it to 8-4, but that was great. To get those few more insurance runs, that's when you were like, yeah. Oh, yeah, she's got this. She's got this for sure. Thoughts on Sooners finally getting ESPY for best team, or does Hack ESPN ignore us again? Isn't it a fan vote that they do? I've gotten really upset about that in the past 2 years. Didn't the Kansas City Chiefs win it last year? It's like, really? We're going to give it to the Chiefs? Seriously? But I think it's up to a fan vote as to how they do that. I think at least that's what it's been. I don't know if they changed that or not, but yeah, they deserve some sort of an ESPY. But whatever. They got a national championship. They'll still get to show up to the red carpet and everything. I don't know. But yeah, I'd like to see him win it too, CJ. You know how this thing works too. David says Tia Malloy and Ella and Pickering can't wait. Yeah, Tia Malloy is got to be the most anticipated freshman coming into the program here. Chris Reynolds says during the presser, Mike White couldn't understand the Longhorns only having one All-American and in his second breath making excuses playing a team with more All-Americans than a home field. What a loser. What a loser. He was a loser last night as well. Chief says, thanks for great analysis this season. Hey, thank you. I mean, you guys show up all the time, right? I'm not doing this if you guys aren't showing up and hit me up in the chat. So I appreciate you guys for sure. Excited to do some football content as well, but it's been fun to just really hammer out softball content here the past few weeks, and that won't stop here moving forward. All right, I'm going to get to it. I'll have a video out for you at some point this weekend. Maybe do a live stream on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, but you guys are the best. Thank you. The streams, getting more and more people in, getting more and more subscribers to the channel. Believe me when I genuinely say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is very much appreciated. Sydney Greenstreet, when Texas was named number 1 seed in the postseason, it pretty much sealed their fate. I think our girls took that as a slap in the face but didn't talk about it. I was happy on the selection Sunday when OU was the number 2 seed. I was like, yes, Patty Gasso going to use that. I love this team not being the number 1 overall seed. heading into this thing. And they still probably win the national championship, but nice to have a little motivation when you're going for a four-peat, right? Nice to have a little motivation. And on the set of ESPN before the game one, a lot of those analysts picking Texas to win that game. Spoiler alert, they did not, because that was a total team effort the entire series. All right, I got to get to it. Appreciate you guys as always. I'll talk to you in here this weekend. Thanks again. National champs. It's Friday. National champs. Enjoy it. Hey, Mike, recruit better and you'll get more All-Americans. Here's an idea. Call Patty and ask how it's done. With a bah ha 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 there at the end. Love that. Happy Friday. National champs. The mood's high. It's just great. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you soon.